episode number 202 with Carlos Welch. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton, and thank you for tuning in. I am here with Carlos Welch. Welcome, Carlos. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Yes, so let's catch all the listeners up. You and I and Mikey and Andrew Pieper, Dylan Tomasi, who else? Alex Venosa.
Yep.
We've been hanging out in Vegas. You guys have been here longer than I have. I've just been here the last few days, but catch everyone up. So you and Mikey came out to Vegas, like a week or a week and a half ago?
If I remember correctly, Mike came out on Thursday, or maybe Friday, and then I came on Saturday, I believe.
Okay, so that was like...
That could be completely wrong. Wait a minute. That's completely wrong. I remember I stayed to do... He left before I did, and I stayed to do a Sunday grind.
Okay.
So he left Saturday, and I left on Monday, I believe. Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay. So about a week ago.
Yeah,
okay.
About a week.
Okay. And what, so he got out here, he proceeded the downward spiral, and then you showed up. Is that what happened?
Pretty much. I don't remember what he played before the, you know what? The first thing he played was the main event for the circuit main event at the Rio.
Okay.
And I think he entered on day 1B. So whatever date day 1B was the day he got out here, and he proceeded to not cash that. And that kind of gets the trip off to a bad start because that's a pretty big buy-in. I think it's like $1,700 or something.
Yeah.
So he starts off in the hole, and Mike is really just, he needs a good start.
Yeah,
a good start will just kind of like set the trip off right for him, and a bad start can kind of do the opposite.
Yes.
And I think that's pretty much what happened.
Okay. All right. And you got out here a couple days later after that, I guess. And what did you play?
So I came out, and Mike and I played. I think the first thing we played together was some nightly at the Venetian. I can't even remember why we played it.
Okay.
It was like some bounty tournament, like $150.
Okay.
Neither of us cashed. Neither of us got a bounty. And then I think the next day or the day after, we played the $400 40K at the Wynn.
Okay.
And I ended up taking 13th in that.
Okay.
And so that was the second game I played.
That's about 2.5 or 3 times your buy-in, something like that?
Yeah, 2.5, which, Mike and I were kind of, that's worth, we were saying that's actually worth having, whereas, like, we're so used to playing online where the buy-in is like 1.1, the cash is 1.1 if you min cash, and 1.1 your buy-in, so just a little bit more. Sometimes, like you told me, even less.
Yeah, I paid $44 and got like $39. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I cashed and lost $5. Like, how is that
insane? It's insane. So it's nice to play a tournament where a main cash is 2.5 buy-ins, and that's pretty much what it was in the one that I cashed.
Right on. Cool. Okay, so you played the Win 400 daily, and then what?
Yep. And like poker players, me particularly, are so bad with time. Like, I'm trying to remember when all this stuff happened. I want to say it was like a day or 2 days before Mike played day one of the $600 tournament.
Okay.
So I wish I had the schedule in front of me, but whatever day that was. So I played and main cash to the 40K. I definitely took a day off. I think Mike did as well. Maybe he played cash. I can't remember. And then he played day one of the $600. Was it 250? A
Uh,
250K?
250K, yeah, a quarter mil.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
there's
he played.
three starting flights to that, right? And what happened the night before? Because I called you guys. I think the original plan was we were all going to stay at like my brother's house or something. But when I called, Mike just seemed in an absolute panic, and I'm like, "Oh, these guys are going to leave before I even get to Vegas, so I'm not even going to bother calling
Let me
back."
think. Let me think. Was that
You
on
said
the
you said
day?
he had he was ready to go home, but then he decided to sleep that night, and then he had a dream,
Oh,
and
I
he
remember
dreamed
now.
that he won the win tournament and became president.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
so that was
so
enough to get him to enter, right?
right. So we played you. So you played on. Did we play the same day? You and I played the same day,
We
I think,
did. We played day three. Yeah, yeah.
which was
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday. So Mike
Okay.
played Thursday.
So Thursday. So that means on Wednesday night, Mike packed his bags. He packed his bags. He was ready to go Wednesday night. I thought, what he told me is that he planned to leave early Thursday morning.
Yeah.
And then when he woke up, he said he had this dream that he was the president and he won a win tournament. So he decided, to fire it. And since so the plan was just to like leave town.
Yeah.
And since he fired it, and since you were on the way, like I normally don't play big field tournaments. Like I don't like multi-day tournaments.
Yeah.
But I figure like since the guys are gonna be here, I might as well fire this thing too. And so I decided to take a day off, and wait until Saturday when you got here, and then you and I fired it.
Yeah. Yeah. We did a 5% swap. That
Yep,
was
5%, 5% with both of you guys. Um, and I want to say, so Mike was, I think, struggling in the tournament for a while. Like towards the end of the night, he kind of got short, and then he kind of like just went on a heater, maybe like the last two levels, and bagged like I think at the time it was for sure top four stacks.
I think he told me he had like 80 something big blinds.
Yeah, yeah, it was heaps.
Yeah.
He had like over 200K, and I think we were coming back to
1500
15.
3K or something.
Right, right. And I think he was like fourth in chips, but again, this was like flight one, so flight A. So of course things could change the next two flights.
Yeah.
But I think even when it was all said and done, he came into day two like if not top 10, definitely like top 20
Yeah.
stacks. So yeah, I can't remember exactly the hands, but I know he went on like a pretty big heater at the end of the night. And then you and I got in, and I pretty much did what I always do, which is like coast for the entire day. Somewhere, well, obviously you got to I start with the same big starting stack as everybody else, but then I eventually stay at that stack size until it becomes like 30 bigs, and then hover between like 15 and 30 bigs for the rest of the way. And that's pretty much what I did, and ended up bagging at the end of my day one, which was I think I bagged like 25 bigs.
Yeah. I think you had just under 30. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right on. Mine was a little bit more abbreviated. I
Thanks to Chevy.
yes, yes. I had let's see. I tweeted about it. I said a fat guy wearing a Chevrolet shirt just owned me, and this guy he was playing about 60% of hands and raising probably 30 or 35%. He raised in middle position. It was a min raise. I called out of the big blind with 9-7 offsuit. I don't think there's anything really there. I suppose I could 3-bet, but I really didn't want to 3-bet him with the offsuit hand like that out of position. The flop comes 7-8-9. So I got top and bottom. We're heads up. I Now, I've seen this guy just fire 3 streets with like a draw and then do the same on the river with a busted draw. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna give him a little rope here. And so I checked, pretty certain that he would bet, and he did. I thought about check raising at that point, but then I'm just like, well, then I'm not getting value from any of his bluffs. So I call. Turn is like a blank. It was like a 2 or a 3. I check. He bets again. I call, and then the river is a queen. And I'm thinking like, oh, please God, let him have like Queen Jack or something, and he just thinks he's good now and now drew me. And I check. He bets again, and I call, and he flipped over Jack 10 offsuit for the flop nuts. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Oops.
Now, when I originally saw your tweet on that, I was like the word "own" is kind of strong in that spot.
Yeah.
I think you played your hand perfectly. In fact, the mistake that a lot of people make is raising at some point with that hand, where that hand is pretty much just like the nut bluff catcher, because you got a guy who's super aggressive, raising everything, betting most of it, 3 streets, and you have like just incredible blockers.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if you do raise and get action, you're probably not good. Like you're far from the nuts on this board.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your hand is basically a bluff catcher, and it's a really good bluff catcher and a really good spot to have a bluff catcher.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you definitely played the hand perfectly. There could be some disagreement because the board is so wet. Was there a flush draw at all?
Let me think. No, I believe there might have been one that came in on the turn, but
Gotcha.
I don't think so.
Yeah, like I definitely like bluff catching with 2 pair on boards that are a little bit safer. So let's say if it was like 9-7-3 or something like that,
Yeah.
I would like it a little bit better. But really, it doesn't matter. Like there's not much more you can do. Like I think check raising, you're definitely overplaying your hand. You're basically repping a straight yourself
Yeah.
when you check raise, and so you don't want to do that and like only get action from better.
Yeah.
So man, sometimes they just get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the good thing about it is he would probably play like aces the same way. These guys don't have a stop button. He would play aces and also ace king and maybe like 7-4 suited the same way.
Yeah.
So yeah, you played it perfectly. You did not get on by the Chevy representative.
Well, maybe owned was a strong word, but I certainly felt like I got bent over and spanked.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, okay, he flopped the nuts. I'm an idiot. But yeah, that's just a small part of his range, and he just happened to have it. Yeah, but there was that one, and then it was a couple levels later. That really just knocked the legs out from under me. And then I was floating around, I think 25 big blinds for a couple of levels. I get king queen offsuit on the button. I 3.1, 3.2 exit. Get called by both blinds. The flop comes 10-6-6. They both quickly check. I see bet. Small blind calls. I'm sorry, small blind folds. Big blind calls. Turn is a jack. He checks again. I shove with 2 overs and open ender, and he tanks for a long time. And then I was thinking, like, okay, I felt like he had a small pair or something like that, maybe a weak 10. So maybe that wasn't a spot to shove there, but he finally found a call, and he had 10-8. And so then that kind of made me wonder, like, maybe he's obviously not folding a 10 there if he called with that, but I was like, maybe that was a little ambitious shove there. I thought he was going to fold a weak 10 and pairs 7s, 8s, and 9s. If he's probably 3-betting those. The guy he was a decent player. I don't know. That might have been a questionable shove.
I don't hate it. What was the sizing on the turn? Was it like an overbet shove?
It was right about pot size.
Okay. Yeah, it's one of those spots where you're kind of forced to do it because of your stack size.
Yeah.
But let's say if you were a little bit deeper, or if the pot coming into the hand was a little bit smaller, like say if you min raise pre and like maybe bet like third pot on the flop,
Okay.
you could set up like a triple barrel, and I think you're more likely to get a guy off of a weak second pair when you go three streets, because he can call you on the turn thinking that okay, he still has draws in his range.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
generally bluffs, I think when you're trying to bluff people off a pair, it's better to do it over three streets than two.
Yeah.
But with these stack sizes, I don't think there was much else you could do. And I still think the guy probably should fold. I don't know how you've been playing up to that point, but he for sure has better bluff catchers in his range, I would assume.
Okay.
It depends on what he does pre with like King 10, Queen 10, Jack 10. Like
He's
trying to
10.
think what hands Ace 10. I assume he's three betting, but maybe not. The other ones are more questionable.
Yeah.
So I can like give him fewer combos of the Queen 10, King 10 than the Ace 10 as far as just flatting
Yeah.
pre. I'm trying to think what jacks does he have in his range other than Jack 10. Like, does he float you on the flop? Ace Jack, he probably, like, if he defends King Jack, does he float you on the flop with that? If so, that would make a better bluff catcher. So I guess that's going to depend on how he plays, but it's hard to like get these people to like fold anything. But you had like so much equity there. I can't hate it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, the river was a blank, and that was GG. So that was my that was my shot at a quarter mil prize pool. But
Yeah.
luckily, I still had 5% of you, so I got a little bit of a sweat. That was fun.
Yes.
And you made it through day one, and then went into day two with 90 players left, I think, and the top 63 paid, or 62, something like that.
62 paid.
Okay.
So like 2/3 of the field would get paid, and I came in and kind of like got basically almost a double up right away. Like the second or third hand, a big. So first of all, I got the tournament chip leader on my left,
Uh-huh.
and the guy who's fourth in chips on my right. So I'm
Yeah,
sandwiched
that's
between
right.
two monster stacks. And so my plan all day was like, okay, these people raise too much, so I'm just gonna be like shoving a lot over their opens. And so like the second or third hand guy opens on my right, I'm probably button or cut off, something like that. And I three bet small with kings. So he made it like 6, and I made it 16. I should have made it a little bit bigger, but I
Okay.
made it 16 because I'm a live fish. And folds back around, he calls, and I have red kings, I believe.
Okay. Now,
And
just so I'm tracking here, you're in position for the hand
yes,
and heads up.
yes.
Okay.
hmm And so there's gonna be something like 40 in the middle,
Yeah.
and I have something like 52 behind, something like that.
Oh, okay.
And the flop is like 9-7-6 all spades, and I have
Okay.
two red kings.
Okay.
Not very happy, but
Yeah.
he checks. I just shove
Yeah.
because I don't want to give these guys any rope. Like if I bet anything, like if I bet anything decent, I'm pretty much committed anyway.
Yeah.
And if I try to get tricky and bet like third pot or something, these guys will float with or without it and then rep it on later streets. And I can't really stack off on a all black, all spade connected board with two red kings on the bubble, basically the bubble
Yeah.
of a tournament. So I shoved and he folded, but that was enough to like, uh, damn near double me up
Yeah.
because of the big antes. I mean the blinds and antes were pretty big. Plus he called a 3-bet. So that pretty much got me up to a stack where I could like wait an orbit or two now, or like a level, to kind of see how the table was playing before I feel more confident in my game plan.
Yeah.
So like I said, my game plan coming in was just to shove over opens, but that's like my default game plan. I assume that big stacks are opening too wide. And for sure, the guys who make big stacks on day one, like the randoms, who are just opening all kinds of garbage, like the guy that you played against,
Yeah.
those guys for sure open too much. But by the time you get to day two, some of the big stacks are going to actually be good players, not just like over aggressive players who happen to get big stacks sometimes.
Yeah.
So if this is an actual good player, maybe his ranges are a little bit more disciplined. But I got a chance to like see a couple of orbits and realize that that wasn't the case. And so now it was like all systems go. Every time he opened, I would just shove.
Yeah.
A lot of ace-x type hands and like broadways, like queen jack, stuff like that. The hands that most people in this tournament would like flat and try to outplay you with posts, I just shove pre.
Yeah.
It's like you scoop up like 40% of your stat and
Yeah.
you take it down pre.
Yeah.
And you don't get sucked out on by like,
Yeah.
4-3 suited.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember we were talking about that the morning before you went out. You spent the night here. You got to meet my folks. My mom was super excited, by the way. She was like, Carlos is coming? The Carlos Welch? Yes, Mom.
That's funny. Shout out to Steve's parents. They were super nice. Yeah, we had some great conversations. Yeah, thanks for inviting me, guys.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. Glad to have you. Anytime. And we were looking up your table, and you're all, well, this could be a blessing or a curse. I've got 2 big stacks on my right and left.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, okay. Just shove over opens, I guess. Like,
yeah.
So what else are you gonna do?
I basically did that again. That's how I keep my stack afloat between like 20 and 30 bigs, because I shove that stack size over opens, and they either fold or they call. And if they call, I'm either out or I double. And when I double from a 20 big stack to a 40 big stack, I'm basically doing the exact same thing next level. Yeah. So it's like a never ending, like, purgatory, but I'll take it because I can ride that wave all the way to the money pretty consistently. The problem is going further than that. I kind of need to like win a flip at some point.
Yeah.
And so I definitely tried to win some flips, but they didn't call. Because they you can't win flips when guys are raising with 4-3 suited. You know, they actually have to have a hand to call you with.
Yes.
But in the meantime, you just stay alive. Now, I did get one interesting hand where we're super close to the money now, like probably 70 left. And the guy on my right, who was a big stack, but because he was opening too much crap, he was getting owned by me when I shoved on him. And he was getting owned by the real big stack on my left, because they were playing pots. And so this guy ended up losing like half his stack. And he was sick of me shoving on him. So it falls around to us blind versus blind, and he completes the small blind.
Okay.
And I have about 20, 25 bigs, something like that, with 5-4 suited. Normally, I'll raise any 2 cards in this spot.
Yeah.
But with it being a bubble, I want to be a little bit more cautious, and this hand plays well post.
Yeah.
So I just checked it back, and the flop was like 8-3 deuce with 2 clubs. So I'm open-ended.
Yeah.
He checks, I check back, and the turn is a 6.
Bingo.
And so now I have the nuts. He bets. I just call because he's over aggressive.
Yeah.
And the river is a club. I don't remember what the card was, but the flush got there, and he checks. So what do you do in this spot? You have the nut straight in a blind versus blind battle on the bubble of a tournament, and the flush draw comes in.
Well, when he checks there, I'm going to throw out a value bet. I mean,
What do you do if he shoves?
so if I bet and he shoves?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fucking tough one. This is kind of where I use my. I like to believe I have Phil Hellmuth white magic, and I get him calling or get him talking. But
Yeah.
the reality is if I can't pick up something that I'm pretty certain with, then I just got to let it go. But I think we could get a lot of value from things like an 8. You know, is he really checking an 8 on that flop? I don't know, but like wouldn't he most of the time value bet a flush there?
Um,
Or is he just
I
waiting
think
for you to check raise it? Because you only called on the turn. I mean, you checked the flop, you
yeah,
called the turn. Like your hand looks like you got a 4 or something, you know, or a pair of
right.
threes or something, you know. Yeah, I got to value bet this. I'm probably value betting something like without really knowing your stack sizes. I'm just going to go pot size. I would probably bet about off the pot side, maybe between 3/4, maybe a little bit like over potted or something. I don't know what the stacks were, if that would have been like your whole stack or something, but
Um, no, because it was a limp pre and we checked the street. It probably would have been like half my stack. Now, let me ask you this: if you're in villain shoes and you're playing me in this spot, and this is like you're playing against some super tight guy, short stack on the bubble of a tournament, are you calling when they bet 3/4 pot on the river? When the flush comes in and all you have is an 8?
that's an interesting point. Maybe that was a little aggressive. I don't know. There's some. You said that you guys kind of had a dynamic, like
The
he felt.
dynamic we had, the dynamic we had is that he opened pre and then I would shove.
Yeah. See, that just kind of feels like you're owning him, you know. And sometimes when you get that dynamic, you'll get these guys to fucking call you with like a pair of fives or something. You know what I mean? Like they're just like, he's not owning me again. I don't care. Um, Maybe you're right. Maybe with the dynamic on there of the, I guess your hand does look like a flush draw. But I got to value bet something there.
Yeah, that you make a good point about. I pretty much won the majority of the hands he and I played, but I mean, you can't even really say we played hands. He opened and I shoved, and the hand was over.
Yeah.
But,
That's still
I
a
got to.
stinger after a while. Even
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
as much work as I've done on myself, like mentally and staying calm and not tilting, like a guy does that to you 3 times in a row and you're like, fuck him, you know?
yeah,
Does he just
yeah.
always have it? Like what the hell? I'm folding good hands
Right.
here, you know?
That's a really good point. And with that, I didn't even think about that at the time. With that in mind, um, I guess I can get called by worse, but I under no circumstances can I call a check shove.
No, I don't think so.
And I don't know if he's the type of person that knows that and knows that um, I'm gonna be unlike like I would pretty much need the nuts or second nuts to stack off there. And a lot of those hands, like if I have like ace X of clubs, I'm probably just gonna shove pre. And so I don't really have a lot of the nuts in my range at that point. And so I don't know. I didn't know if he was the type that was capable of check shoving as a bluff there, knowing that, I had the vice grips on me. And I also didn't know if he would be willing to pay off with one pair on a super wet board, given how tight I am and the dynamics. So I decided to not bet because, like I said, I didn't think I'd get called by worse, and I definitely could not call a shove. Um, but yeah, I think if I thought a little bit more about the dynamics, I probably could have bet and maybe gotten called. But had he shoved, I would have fucking tilted my fucking life away. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I
that
just
that
look at
may
it like this is a bad fold and that's it. You
yeah,
know?
but I just don't want to bet fold myself down to like 9 bigs on the bubble of a tournament.
Yeah, well, I mean, the odds of him raising the river, I think, are very small. I think he's probably only doing that, I don't know, 10% of the time. I'm just pulling a number out of my ass here. But
Yeah,
I think
you
it's very rare that he does that. And when he does, I think it's very often that you're beat, you know?
um
But 90,
you
maybe half the time he just folds. 40% of the time he calls and you get another bet out of him, and 10% of the time he rips it. Um, I don't know. I
yeah,
like those
you may
odds.
be right. I definitely think those numbers are a lot higher with a truly good player. But a lot of these people are aggressive in certain spots, but not in others. Like this guy was probably quote unquote good for the stakes that he plays, but he's not like an elite player. Like I think like the truly good players, like the name pros, I think they can check raise that river as a bluff pretty high percentage of the time, given that even if I call and they lose, it's probably only like a quarter of their stack. But I don't know if this guy was on that level, and because I didn't know, I just took the safe route because I really didn't care about getting a value bet paid off there anyway. At this point, my goal was to like
Cash.
cash,
Yeah.
and then I'll do stuff like that once I get inside the money.
Okay.
So
Maybe that's a
I
fault
take
in
that
my
back.
game because yeah, sometimes I take those spots on the bubble like Mikey did, and
I'll
maybe I
I'll,
shouldn't.
I'll run because I ran the hand by Dylan, um, and he said that he would bet like super small on the river.
Okay.
And he said, because, yeah, I don't have a lot of bluffs there. So anytime you don't have a lot of bluffs, you should use a small sizing.
Okay.
And I want to say, what did he say about if the guy raises? I think he said if he bet big and the guy raised, he would just fold. And if he bet small and the guy raised, he would strongly consider calling.
Yeah.
So I can see some room for betting, and I think a smaller bet is going to be better than a big bet because I think you're probably you kind of got to like force him to call by giving him like a super grip. Like the guy might say to himself, like I only got to be good here 1 out of 7 times or
Yeah.
something, and
Yeah.
in a spot where he's literally never good.
And he's never good. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you force it to be like 1 out of 2 times, or 1 out of 3 times, 1 out of 4 times, then obviously he's going to call a little less often.
Yeah.
So I like the smaller bet, um, but the difference between Dylan and I is if I bet small and he shoves, I'm not even considering calling.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to just put myself in a tough spot on the bubble of a tournament with a short stack. So I don't. This is where, like, yeah, we were talking about. I think one of the key differences between Mike and I think both of us, obviously, neither of us are perfect poker players, and so we play suboptimally. And I'm suboptimal in the sense that I'm tighter than I should be in spots, and I think he's a little bit over aggressive in spots.
Yeah.
And so, like, somewhere between the two of us would be the right answer. But I'm pretty happy with where I am on the knit in the knit side. So I'll leave that above the rim shit up to Phil Ivey and them. Like I'm just not on that level, and I don't know if I'll ever be, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. 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 Well, Dylan did pretty well. Speaking of him, he got 12th for 4,700. Only had to fire one bullet of 600 into that, so it was a good weekend for him. Mikey, you had a good one. I got 5% of you, and I got $77.70. The lucky 3-7. So I guess I could reverse engineer the math here on this, but I think it's about $1,500, something like that.
Yeah, 1554 was the cash
Okay.
on a $600 buy-in, and that was the main cash was like 1,300. So I did get a small pay bump, and I actually busted like 2 spots from another like $200 pay bump.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a pretty solid cash for uh, a min cash.
Yeah, for 2 days worth of work, that's not bad. That's
Yeah.
almost $1,000. Well done, sir. And 47 out of 615 players ish, something like that.
Yep,
So,
and the best part is when I busted, my chips went to Dylan, so I was happy about that.
yeah, what There was a little controversy over that tweet. I saw right through it immediately and saw it as a joke, but I think a couple people were a little
Yeah,
butthurt or something. I'm like, really? You really think Carlos is talking shit about Tournament Poker Edge? Come on.
yeah. That was
They
so
obviously
funny
don't
to
know you.
me. Yeah.
So what did
So
you shoved like ace five or something, and he just called with queens, or what was it?
yeah, I shoved ace 5 suited with 12 bigs, and he called with some pair. It's either like jacks, queens, or kings,
Okay.
but I never looked, so I don't really know. I actually looked. I look at the end, like when the run out is over, to see if I won or not,
Yeah.
and I glanced at the board and I saw that apparently I flopped a pair in a flush draw,
Oh.
but I didn't. But I didn't get there, and I kind of glanced over at his cards, but I saw there were like two face cards, and he won.
Yeah.
And so but I wasn't exactly sure what they were. Maybe like if I had to guess, I'm saying it's either like queens or kings.
Okay. Okay.
So
So you didn't watch the run out?
No, I never watched the runouts.
Oh, that's right. I remember you telling me that before.
Yeah,
It just
yeah,
keeps you mentally better in the game or something, or
yeah,
you don't want the
yeah. It's
emotional
like
roller coaster of every fucking card coming out.
yeah, it's like once my decisions are done, I don't need the like adrenaline spike or like because like there's nothing funnier to me when someone shoves like um like queens and they get called by I'm sorry, they shove ace king, they get called by queens, and then they flop an ace on the flop. They get an ace on the flop, and the guy hit a queen on the river, and they say, "Oh, I got two out of it."
Yeah.
I was like, "No, you lost a flip."
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
So
you were
when
48% at the start of the hand, sir.
yeah, it's like I don't want like it's like looking for pain. Like nothing good can come from looking at the runouts. I mean, unless you just want like a adrenaline spike and you want to like call for cards. I can see how that kind of stuff can be fun for people.
Okay.
And I do enjoy looking at the runouts when I'm sweating other people play.
Yeah.
But when I'm in it, I don't really want to be involved with the stuff that I don't have an opportunity to make a plus EV decision on.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I watch the runouts all the time, and for me, it's kind of a game of like when the dealers are really fast, I can't quite keep up with it. But if they're a slower dealer, I'm running through in my heads as fast as I can, like what outs there are. Oh, the 7 is counted twice because it's a diamond as well. Stuff like that. So for me, it's kind of fun. But you are right. There is definitely an adrenaline spike that goes with it that may not be good for your game. It may be better to just kind of look away and then when it's done, see if you won or not.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
Mike
for
could
sure.
ever do that. I believe I'm capable of it, but Mike is
No.
completely incapable of that.
Yeah, he and I have talked about this in the past, and yeah, I think he probably sees the merit in it, but I think he kind of enjoys, he enjoys the pleasure and the pain to a certain extent. To a
He
certain
does, yeah.
extent, yeah, yeah. So
He does.
he gets something out of it either way.
He does.
Um,
I
the
remember you guys just before you guys were on the bubble and you got a break, and I was in the daily 40K, the win yesterday, and you guys were on a break, and Mike just looked completely disheveled. It's so stressed.
yeah,
Because he went from 200
he
something
got
K down to
he
like
got screwed.
90K
Yeah,
or something, you know what I mean? Like his nines didn't hold up against ace deuce or something. And
yeah,
he just looked so stressed, and I went over to him. I'm like, bro, you're still in the fucking tournament. You could have got knocked out yesterday like I did. Like, come on, get your shit together. Just focus. you know?
yeah. But I understand where it comes from. Like, you come in with a big stack, and you know, kind of like wanting. There's so much like it's such a mind fuck, man.
Yeah.
Tournaments is such a mind fuck. It's like he's run bad for so long in tournaments, so he kind of like saw an opportunity to kind of get back to where he was, and everything was looking good. And then I think the first hand he lost ace king to aces on an ace high board, and
Ooh.
that was a pretty big pot. And then I want to say this might have been blind versus blind, where a guy shoved like ace 7 or ace 8, and Mike calls with nines, and he loses that one. And all of a sudden, he goes from
Hero to zero, yeah.
a shot at winning to a shot at main cashing.
Yeah.
And when he gets to that point, he's thinking more so about getting back to where he was as opposed to like, seeing the min cash as a worthy goal.
Yeah.
And so, like I told him, man, it's like, it's just a matter of styles. It's like, I can say that a lot of his plays, at least with my limited knowledge, I'll say that they're probably mathematically incorrect, but at the same time, I know a lot of the plays I do are mathematically incorrect, like checking back with that straight on the river.
Yeah.
It's just that I'm erring on the side of being too tight and he's erring on the side of being too aggressive. And what happens when you play that way is he's going to get a lot of like, bust outs where he doesn't cash, and he's going to get a lot of wins.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a lot of like stone bubbles and a lot of min cashes and very, very few wins compared to him. And so, again, somewhere in the middle is that happy medium.
Yeah.
And that's going to be optimal, but none of us are there yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I call my coaching mediocre poker, because at the end of the day, unless any of us are like, capable of going heads up with the top 100 players in the world, at the end of the day, we're all a mediocre player compared to somebody else.
We're just
The
winning
goal-
grinders, just nut peddling. Just
Yeah,
getting those little nuts.
Yeah, the goal is not to like be the best. The goal is to find people worse than you that are willing to play for money.
Exactly.
And that's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you're absolutely right. It's just nut peddling. It's the same thing I do with day trading, and just nut peddling. I'm just betting 1.5%, maybe 2% of my bankroll on these little bets, just nut peddling. I'm never taking like a shot of like, ooh, this looks super good, I'm going to bet 10%. No, fuck that. It'll backfire. And if it doesn't, like, okay, you got lucky there once, it just ain't worth it. Just nut pedal,
Yeah,
Just grind it
for
out.
sure.
Yeah. Andrew Pieper is a perfect example of that. He showed me the graph of his dailies
Yeah, I saw
that he
it
plays.
too.
Did you see that? An
Yeah.
average buy-in $82, and it just looks like a fucking skyrocketing graph. I mean, like there's like no downswings.
Yeah, it's
He
straight up.
plays like 2 table, maybe 1 table tournaments. Average buy-in $82. So some of them are 150s or 200s, and other ones are 65s or whatever. I just dropped them off last night at a $65 one, and he just nut pedals and he's able to grind it out and make a living. Another gal I had on the show with him actually, very briefly for only about 5 or 10 minutes, but Mindy, she does the same damn thing. Just plays these little dailies, sometimes grinds 1-3, and just nut pedal,
Yeah, like, that's basically how I've come up in poker, and I'll probably do that for as long as I can. As long as I can find people willing to play against me at the stakes I want to play for in a manner where I can kind of like damn near autopilot
Yeah.
and never get in tricky spots. Like, I'd just rather do that, because the goal to me isn't like millions of dollars or to be number one in the GPI.
Mhm.
It's just to like not have to go to work tomorrow. That's my goal.
Yes. When I come out here for these little trips, it's so cool for me because this is kind of giving me a snapshot of what it's going to be like when I leave the fire department in 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm just going to play these tournaments, I don't know, 4 times a week. And that's probably about it. Maybe a little bit of cash sprinkled in here and there, some online. But, I love these tournaments. They're so much fun.
The win is so good, man. I almost feel like you could probably just play their dailies and whatever series they have pop up there every day during the daytime. And then, like, if you happen to bust, just grind online at night. And you could probably, make $100,000 in a year. Easy.
I think so. The play is so soft.
It is horribly soft.
Especially on the weekends. Especially on
Yes.
the weekends. I mean, it's bad during the week too, but
Yeah.
the weekends are just a whole new level.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a couple times I can't recall the hands, but where you were showing me those horrid calls that they do on Bovada. Just like calling like
Yeah.
6-4 offsuit to a 20 big blind shove, and you're like, was that a misclick? Like what?
Yeah. The first
But
time I saw that stuff
so often,
happen,
you're like, maybe
I
it's
thought
not.
it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Like when they show up with a real hand, now I'm surprised. Like what?
Yeah.
Nines?
Oh,
Yeah, I fucking love it, man. I don't know if that site ever goes away, I'll be fucking crushed. I
yes.
guess I'll move and just play the win every day. It's
Yeah.
not much tougher there.
Uh, oh, I had one hand that you and I talked about when you were here at my folks' house. It was a cash game hand, and I'm embarrassed to even bring it up because it just shows that I can't fucking add. But I figured it would be a good lesson for a lot of guys out there to hear. Remember the Jack 10 offsuit hand?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm playing in a cash game. Looking back in hindsight, I probably should have just been railing somebody or gone home instead of playing because I had played all day in that $600 250K, and then we had dinner. I had a beer with dinner, which I kind of broke my rule about not drinking when you're going to play. But then everyone went to go play cash, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll sit in a 1-3 table until you either bag or bust, and then we'll go to my folks' house.
Well, the best poker decisions always start with fuck it.
Yes. If you're throwing that in at the beginning of the sentence, then you probably shouldn't be playing.
Yes.
Yeah. So I buy in. It's a 1-3 table. I buy in for 300 or 400, and I'm mostly folding, not really playing anything. And then after about an hour or so, I'm kind of getting in. There's two guys at the table. One of them they're both Cuban. The guy to my right, he's been button straddling every time. So I'm in the big blind with Jack 10 off suit. There's a limp in late position. Now this guy, I've seen him limp fold like everything. If he has a hand, he's raising it. So um, he limps there $6. The button straddle is the Cuban guy that's been very, very loose and very aggressive. Like he made the mistake of betting and then accidentally showing his hand before action was on the other girl. He flopped a set of eights. He flopped the second nuts. And this girl was debating like to either shove or call, but she was never folding. And he accidentally showed his cards, and then the dealer's like, "Well, you showed those other players. You got to show the table." Because he just flipped the fucking thing up, and she was the only one that didn't see it because she was looking at the pot and just not paying attention. And she showed aces and then folded. So he would have got her whole damn stack. This is the kind of level of play we're here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's on the button straddle. So when it gets around to him, the I guess advantage of the button straddle is you get to act last before the flop. So it goes through him. The small blind folds. Now it's on me. I've got Jack 10 off suit. And I thought, you know what? I want to get heads up with this guy on the button because I know he's calling, and I'm damn certain that the other guy that limped is folding because every time he's limped and someone's raised, he's folded. So I make it 25. Sure enough, he folds. Button straddler. He looks down at his hand and he says, "I have pocket fives. I just want you to fold." And he puts in $100. And I'm like, okay. Now he'd said his hand before and showed it, and that's what he actually had. Now at this point, he picks up his cards, kind of stacks them on top of each other, and he shows the rest of the table a five. He doesn't quite show it to me, but the guy next to me said he just showed the five of clubs. And that's when the dealer was like, "Hey, sir, you can't talk about the hand, yada, yada, yada." So I'm almost certain this guy actually has pocket fives, right? And the way he said he's all 100% I have pocket fives. I'm all 100% pocket fives. He's all 100% pocket fives. I swear I have pocket fives. I have pocket fives right now. I just want you to fold. And I'm like, well, if he actually has pocket fives, then I guess I'm basically flipping. I mean, this is no different than ace king versus queens, right? Maybe even a little bit better because I got more straight possibilities with Jack 10.
Exactly.
I'm like, well, I guess this is a call and then just play perfectly on the flop, assuming he has pocket fives. So I thought there was a decent chance that when I called, he was going to shove dark. And I was right. I called, so I call 100. There's now 207 with the small blind and that limp fold in the pot. I guess minus the rake. We'll just call it 200 to make it even. So there's 200 in the middle, and he blind shoves for another 150. Flop is ace king 9. So if he indeed does have pocket fives, then we've got a gutter, a queen, or a jack or a 10 that'll make us the best hand, and then I guess there's the random, a running nine king or a running ace king or something
Right.
else to give us a high card basically for the win. Um, and so he blind shoves that, and then he starts saying, when he sees the flop, he's all, please fold, please fold. I have pocket fives. This is a horrible board. Please fold, please fold. And this is when I went into math mode, and I said, okay, there's 200 in the middle. He just bet 150. This isn't as good as I thought, because I got to call 150. So it's 150 divided by 350. That's like 40 something percent. If I do the quick poker math, there's basically 10 outs times 4. That's 40%. It feels like it's a little bit more. It's fucking close, but I think this is a fold. And I folded. And then after talking with you, I realized what a fucking bonehead error that was, because it's actually 200 in the middle. And I know this. This is the worst part.
Yeah.
There's 200 in the middle, 150 that he bet. But I also have to add the 150 that I'm calling, because when I win, I get that back. So there's really
Exactly.
500 in the middle. And so it's 150 divided by 500, which is a lot less than 40%. So
30. Yeah.
Yeah.
Happens to the best of us, Steve.
Yeah. You told me a story that made me feel a little bit better about Antonio Esfandiari, commentating on poker and saying that, he just bet half pot, so he has to be good 50% of the time. And I'm like, okay, well, if he could say that on live TV, then I feel a little bit better about this, but it was still
Yeah, and at the time he was saying this, he had like the most cashes. He was like the all-time money leader in tournaments.
Okay, all right.
So if he can make that mistake, then we can get away with making mistakes like that too.
Yeah. I did the math though, and I figured that if it is 10%, then that's basically worth $50. So that one error cost me 2 hours at a 1-3 table. I was like, shit.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Oh man. Yeah. That's a tough one.
Yeah. Lesson learned: don't break your rule of having a beer with dinner and then going and playing
Yes.
cash. That was stupid.
Don't start your sessions with "oh fuck it."
Yeah,
Because this is the end result.
Yes. This is what happens.
But you know what's funny? The math works out to where the 42% number that you came up with is how often he needs his bet to work as a bluff. And a lot of time people will confuse those two percentages. So if he was betting 150 into 2 as a bluff, he needed it to work 42% of the time. And when you call, you need to be good 30% of the time.
Yeah. So that's like 12 or something.
Yeah.
Yep. So live and learn.
Yes.
But the next day, I had a pretty good run. Yesterday, I went. There was 167, I think, entrants. I did the win daily $400 buy-in. I quickly got on the first level. Tell me what you think of this hand. You still got a little bit, or you got to get going?
No, I got plenty of time.
Okay. First level, it's 100. We are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6-handed. And we pick up ace, queen, spade in the big blind. There's an active guy. He's a European. He was actually at the final table later in the red jacket. He was to my left. I don't know if you remember him or not.
Yep, a Puma jacket.
Yes.
Of
Remember
all
him quite well.
things.
Yes.
Yes, I'll never forget him.
Yeah. Okay, well, first level, we're at the same table. And he raises to 300. He'd been loose and splashy. I think he could do this with like all suited connectors down to probably 4 or 5. Suited aces, broadways, any pair like that. A girl who, at this point, I was perceiving her as a pro just because her decisions were so fast. The way she handled her chips, she just seemed pro-ish. I mean, at one point I remember thinking like, okay, I don't really want to play with her. I'm just going to try to, focus on the Puma jacket, you know.
Right.
And so, anyways, Puma jacket raises to 300. Pro girl calls 300. We're in the big blind with. They're both in early middle position. We're in the big blind with Ace Queen of Spades. What's your thoughts here? We got basically. I think we have like 12K effective.
So Puma was the opener, or he called?
He was the opener. He opened a 3x to 300.
Okay. Generally, I three bet this hand, but I'm less worried about him. I'm more worried about her early position flatting range. Or when I say worried, I'm worried about what a good player would flat there, and sometimes I kind of like give unknowns too much credit, especially when they look like a pro.
Yeah.
Hence me checking back and straight.
Yeah.
So my first thought is, okay, we have a read on this guy that says wide. We have a read on her that says solid. And a solid player shouldn't have too many just straight up flats in that position. It should have a lot of three bets with the type of hands we want them to have.
Yeah.
So I could go either way, especially with it being suited. I could go either way with just calling here or three betting.
Okay.
How deep are you again?
Like 120 bigs.
Yeah. I could go either way, but I would say Assassinado would probably three bet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're three betting, what's your sizing?
They open to 3.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna go like 15 to 18, somewhere in there.
Okay. Oh, you're going bigger. Okay. I made it 13. There's 800 in the middle right now, and I made it 1300. They both call. So with the small blind folding, there's 4K in the middle. What's your reasoning for so big? You just want to fold right now and not have to play this out of position, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care if I get a fold or not because my hand is pretty good for post flop. But when I'm out of position, I need to go bigger. And also with stacks being as deep as they are, if I want to try to get it in by the river, I need to go ahead and go bigger, assuming that, you know, only one of them calls. And that's kind of what I want. I kind of want to get it heads up if I can, because although this hand is pretty good, I'm not always going to hit the flop. So I want to be able to like bluff at some point.
Yeah.
And it's harder to bluff against two people than one. So,
Okay.
yeah, with the smaller size, then I think you're going to get two callers very often, especially when one of them's kind of a fish
Yeah.
and the other one has a strong range.
Okay. All right. I make it 1300. They both call. There's 4K in the middle. We've got like 11K behind, something like that. Flop is Ace of Hearts, 10 of Clubs, 8 of Clubs, and we have the Ace Queen of Spades. So we flop top pair, good kicker, no spades on the board. There's a flush draw, straight draw. What's your what are you thinking here with 4K in the middle for first hand?
4K in the middle. How much do we have behind?
We got about 11.
Jeez. Guess I'm going to start with a small C bet and really hope the girl goes away. I guess so. 4K in the middle. I'm probably gonna C bet something like between like 13 and 15, something in that range.
Okay, you're
Third
going
pot.
like third.
Yeah.
Okay. And why so small?
Generally because this is a board where a lot of my hands don't really want to play a bloated pot. Like, for example, if I have like kings or queens here, like I guess a lot. So I think about my three betting range. It's either a lot of big pairs that either want to check or bet super small, like maybe like 13, maybe even less.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to be checking a lot of times with those type of hands. And the rest of my range is either like big ace X hands, like the one you have, or like smaller ones that, I was just kind of like squeezing with, like maybe ace five suited.
Okay.
And with those type of hands, I don't want the pot to get kind of bloated either.
Okay.
So either so let's forget about the pairs for now. So most of my range here is top pair. So I got strong top pair hands and I got weak top pair hands. If I have a weak top pair hand, I don't want to bloat the pot, which is why we use the smaller sizing. And if I got the big top pair hand, like the one you have, I want to give them a price so that they can't, fold worse hands by the river.
Okay.
And so honestly, with ace queen, like you really can't play for stacks here up against anything but like ace jack. I don't know how many ace nines they have in their range, and if they do have them, I don't know if they're stacking off with them, but I think you could probably stack ace jack, and if somebody has me beat, I want to kind of get away for a cheap price.
Yeah.
So like I'm probably bet folding here, honestly, if it gets too heavy at some point. So if that's my goal, I mean, if that's what I'm thinking, is I may have to bet fold at some point. I want to try to keep the pot small. I mean, there's some merit for checking here also, because that's what you will be doing with the vast majority of your range.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just the shit just gets complicated when it's a multi-way pot, when you're out of position, and when there's a good player in the hand.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm kind of confused in this spot.
Okay.
So
I like your small sizing. Yeah.
Generally, when I'm confused, I either check or bet small.
Yeah. Yeah.
That seems to like limits the damage if there's a mistake that's about to happen.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Instead of going small, well, I go half pot instead of a third. I make it 2K. Puma jacket calls and the girl folds.
Okay, now it's game on.
Yeah. Now it's basically. I can't think of a better result of what we would want, right?
Yes, because
Okay.
he's probably bad enough to have like ace five here and get stacked.
Okay. Okay. All right. She folds. So we got 8K in the middle. We've got about, what would that be? About 9K behind, something like that. 8,500, 9K. And with ace, queen of spades, we had a flop of ace of hearts, 10 of clubs, 8 of clubs. The turn is the 5 of hearts. Okay, so we got 2 clubs up there, 2 hearts. Pot is 8,000 with a little bit more than a pot size bet behind. Actions on us against Puma Jacket.
2 flush draws out there, you said?
2 flush draws, yeah.
And we have slightly more than pot?
We have slightly more than pot, yeah.
Okay, I'll shove here.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, mostly just to like, it works both ways. If the guy has a flush draw, he'll probably make a bad call with it. And so I just kind of profit from that. And if he has an ace, he'll put me on the flush draw and make a bad call, and I'll profit that way also.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. All right. I ended up betting 3K. He shoved, and then I called. But I kind of like your line of just rip it in here, get value from all his draws. I mean, there's a lot in there. Jack 9, 9-7, 2 clubs, a weak ace, 2 hearts.
Let me ask you this. Remind me again your initial read on this guy. Would you say he's over aggressive or overly passive?
Overly aggressive.
Okay. And so with that in that case, how much was in the middle on the turn?
8K. And we got about
Okay.
85 or 9K behind.
Okay. So given that it's so awkward out of position, man.
Yeah.
Given that he's over aggressive, I think I like your line better, but
Okay.
maybe a slightly smaller sizing to kind of induce him.
Yeah.
It seems
Okay.
like this was probably enough to do it anyway, but just like a 2K FU bet or something like that.
Yeah.
Like he may just ship with threes, and or something like that. But there may actually be some merit if we were in position. I guess I don't know how much it matters. I'm thinking about, given that we know he's over aggressive, like maybe check at some point to allow him to try to like put us on kings and try to get us off of it. But you can also do that with a small FU bet.
Yeah.
So I guess that's probably what I would prefer, is like betting like 2K on the turn, given that the guy's over aggressive. But against most people who are overly passive, I think I like this shove better.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. I bet 3K. He rips it. I call, and he had 10-8. So he flopped 2 pair. It was suited. So I guess I got to give him that. But
Yeah, yeah,
he called 10% of his stack with 10-8 suited,
pretty bad,
with a
especially
player to act behind him. But
pretty bad.
I don't mind
Yeah,
his open. But calling the 3-bet seems a little.
his open is bad too.
You think so?
It's not. I would say that it's probably good in the tournaments that he's playing, but it's not GTO, and he will probably get punished against good players very often opening that wide. Like, you say he's like early position,
He was UTG 1. She
so
was UTG 2.
UTG
Yeah.
one with 10-8 suited is too wide.
Yeah. Okay.
Like Alex was like, he gave me hell one day for opening Jack 9 suited. Like he like broke me out of that habit. So even like the Jack 9 suited is too wide, and like King Queen off, Ace Jack off. Like, you're supposed to be pretty tight from early position, and
Yeah.
if you're, but you shouldn't be. You should be opening really wide like that if people are letting you get away with it. And so against most of these the players in the win tournaments, yeah, he probably should be opening those hands. But if I'm at the table, especially if I'm short stacks, if I have a short stack, 20 to 30 bigs, these are the guys I feed off of, because these are the guys who fold too much, and they allow me to survive with a 20 to 30 stack for much longer than I should,
Yeah.
because they're raising so wide, and they're only calling off with probably 20, maybe 20, 30% of their opening range.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I'm close to being able to shove any two cards profitably.
Yeah. 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 So that was GG for the bullet 1. Then I went for bullet 2. And bought back in, and after that,
Oh, okay. So I'm laughing to myself now. Like, and this is like an inside thing that the listeners won't know about. But the fact that your first bullet busted into this guy, given what happens later,
yes.
okay, this is a piece of the story I didn't know. What
Yes.
the
fuck, man? It's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna tease this one and tell you. I want to thank our sponsor here, Elliot Roe. And every time before I play a tournament, I always listen to his MP3s. And in this one especially, it was kind of special because when we got down to 35 players, we had the dinner break. And I went out to the car. I remember going to you, Carlos, and I must have looked like I was just had the 1,000-yard stare because I was tired, hungry, and we had 45 minutes. And I'm like, dude, I'm going out to the car and I'm taking a nap. I can't even see straight right now. And I went out to the car and I listened to his final table MP3, and I came back and I made the fucking final table. Maybe that's a coincidence, but it can't hurt. These MP3s are amazing.
I'll tell you what, man. I don't know about the MP3 or the final table one, but if there's like any like mental game in terms of like dealing with tilt MP3 involved in that one that you listen to, it definitely works because had Mike been at the table dealing with those hands you dealt with towards the end,
Yeah.
it would have been a much different reaction.
Yeah, yeah. No, we'll tell you guys about it. I took a horrific beat, and a couple of them, and I was just like, all right. And I just play this game in my head, and I don't know if it's just practice or these MP3s, but I just pretend that I just doubled up. So even if I'm down to 4 big blinds, I mentally tell myself, oh, I just had 2, and now I got 4. This is pretty sweet. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it actually
yeah,
works. You know,
yeah.
so
That kind of stuff, I love it.
yeah, yeah. So check out these MP3s. You can get the free one. Ironically, it's called the 7-minute Tilt-Buster. I've probably listened to that one hundreds of times, and it really works. You can click on the link in the show notes. If you decide to buy one, use the code HUPOKER, and you'll score yourself a little discount, save yourself some cash, and you kick back a little bit to the podcast. Okay, so come back from dinner break. We're down to 2 tables by now, I believe, right? And
Yes.
lo and behold, Puma Jacket is at the table with us. And, he's across the table. I'm under the gun, and I make it. I've got a stack of 300, about 300K, and he has a stack of about 275, 280. So
Jeez.
right about the same.
Fucking Puma Jacket.
Yeah. I believe blind levels at this level were 2,500, 5K. So that gives us how many big blinds is that for 300K? That's like 60 bigs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got 60 bigs. UTG we have pocket jacks. I believe they were 2 black jacks. And I make it my standard raise at this one, and I tried something different in this one, Carlos, is I'm just doing like over 3x. I did it the whole tournament. And all these other guys that were doing the min raises and the 2.2s and 2.3s, they're getting 4 callers, and I almost always got a heads up.
Perfect.
So I did that here. I made it, I believe, 17K. Folded around a Puma Jacket, who was, let's see, he was on the
Big
button.
blind.
Oh, he was big blind?
Yes.
Okay, because I was seat 1, he was seat 9. Okay, so he was in the big blind. He flicks in a call, and we go to a flop of, let's see, what was the flop? The flop was 4 of hearts, 5 of hearts, 8 of hearts. And he leads out for 15K. It was 15 or 16. I can't remember if there was a blue chip in there or not. I really don't remember. But he leads out for smallish. At this point, I've got 2 jacks, no heart. But I think he's going to be doing this with like all big hearts, any pair on this board. And knowing what we know about Puma Jacket, I think he'll stack off pretty light. So I make it 50K. And then he takes about 2.5, 3 seconds, and then he rips all in. I didn't.
Now,
Oh, go ahead.
now keep in mind with 18 left, I think the 2 of you are probably like first and second, or close to it.
Yeah.
You were definitely first.
I was definitely first because I had 2 big stacks of red, which no one else had, and then I had a whole nother 5 stacks of yellow or orange or whatever it is for the. So I had 300K, and he had like 275, 280, something like that.
Yeah.
So he rips it all in, and then that's when I was like, huh. Well, I guess this is what we wanted. So I didn't take too long, but I gave it a call, and he flipped over pocket 6s with the 6 of hearts. So he's got a gut shot, a 7 will give him a straight. I guess the 2 remaining 6s will give him a set, and a heart will give him a flush, and he ended up riffering a 7. So we went from hero to 5 big blinds. And,
Yeah.
It's either 4 or 5 big blinds. I can't remember, but it was Not an
The
impressive stack.
Yeah, the best part about it is I walked over to the table. I didn't see the pre-flop action,
Uh-huh.
but I walked over to the table when I realized that you guys were all in, and I saw you had jacks over sixes,
Uh-huh.
and I think when I got there we were on the turn,
Okay.
and I was like, it's looking good. And then when the river hit, people go crazy, like, oh. And then I look at Steve, and Steve just like snaps his fingers, like, I almost had it. And I'm thinking, like, yeah, if it wasn't for Elliot Roe's MP3s, if that was Mike, for example, or me in this case, because I could, that table would have been upside down twice. That fucking Puma jacket would be in shreds as if an actual Puma ripped it. But Steve took it. He took it in stride. Took it in stride.
I
So
did. There was a point.
impressive.
Right, thank you. That's taken a lot of work. There was a point right there, and I know we're beating this Elliot Roe to death, but there was something in my mind that said, "Well, I've already visualized the final table, so I know I make it there. So I guess I just have to keep doubling up from here." Like that. That was my only thought. It was just like, okay, well, I thought I was going to be the big stack going to the final table. I guess now maybe I'll just squeak in. I don't know, but somehow I get there. You know.
That's awesome, man.
So I had four bigs. I basically just kept folding, and it's a little bit, I think, of almost an advantage having the big blind and then the big blind ante, because you're not just chipping away each time. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a big hit that comes at once, so you can more so plan it.
Yes, that's
So
true.
yeah, I ripped Jack 10 offsuit from like middle position, got it through. Then the very next hand, I ripped Ace 3 offsuit from, so I had four bigs, shoved that, and then I was up to like 6.5, shoved the Ace 3 from late early position, I guess, early middle position. Got that through. I might have been in the big blind and another short stack. Well, he had more than I did. I was the shortest by far. But he ripped, and then I looked down at Ace King suited. I think I was in the small blind or big blind. I rip, win a flip, and now we're up to 11 bigs. And I'm like, okay, we're going somewhere here. It's like 11 or
Yeah,
12. And uh, and then and then lo and behold, I made it to the final table. Blind levels went up again, and I think now I was hovering around 9 to 11 bigs, something like that. And I pick up jacks again. We're now seven-handed, and I pick up jacks in the cutoff. I had 7.3 bigs, I believe. And I just open ripped it. The two guys to my left, there's Puma Jacket to my left, so I know he's going to call with like a weak ace or something. Excuse me. And the small blind was pretty loose. The big blind, he might have been a little bit tighter, but I don't think there's anything to do with jacks there other than rip it. I don't think it's good to min raise and then hope for something.
right.
Yeah. So I rip it. I get called by Ace 7 suited, and I flop a set. And then he ended up hitting a gutter for a straight. So
Puma jacket, right?
uh, no, it wasn't Puma Jacket. It was the other guy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I thought it was Puma jacket. That's why. That's why I'll never forget that jacket. I was like, how many times is this guy gonna suck out of Steve?
yeah. Once to knock me out the first time, and another time to take me from 60 bigs down to 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I hung in there. It was fun, and it was cool having you guys there as a rail. That was really cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
There was
No
you,
problem.
Mike, Dylan, and then Andrew Pieper came in right after I busted, and
Yep.
that was cool. It was cool.
Only Steve can go from first to worst and say, I wonder which seat at the final table I'll get. Will I be in seat 3 or seat 7? And like most people will be like, fuck, let me go get my parking validated. Yeah, so that's some pretty good optimism right there, man. I dig it.
Right on. Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, I got to give the credit to Elliot Roe. I wasn't always like that. I used to tilt pretty bad, especially online. I mean, I never like broke a computer or my mouse or anything, but it was, yeah. Now I feel like I'm finally like even keel, and I'm able to keep that in check. But Yeah, I just love this game. I think I'm gonna go play again today. I might do the win daily. If not, I'll probably just fire some random $100 or $200 tournaments. I'm kind of getting to the point to where those aren't quite worth it for me.
You gotta play the win. If you're there and you're playing,
Yeah,
it's the same way you just final table, right?
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. There's
yeah,
no reason not to play that if you're in town.
yeah, yeah. That's the best one by far. Where you're down in
Yes.
Bullhead City, right? You got a storage unit. You're going down to San Diego to meet up with Mike after this.
Yes. So I'm on my way there now.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool, good deal, good deal. Right on. Well, I got two little hands here that are pretty close. If you still got a sec.
Okay.
Okay. Um, I think these may be kind of obvious, and you're like, why are you even asking me? But I figured I'd just run it by and see what you say.
Wouldn't
Okay.
be the first time that happened on the
Oh
podcast.
hell no! This would be about the 47th. Yeah.
It's like, okay, pose around to me. There was one. It was like ace. Pose around to me on the button. Oh, pose around to the cutoff. Cutoff opens. I have ace eight suited on the button with 18 bigs. And I'm thinking like, am I missing something here? This is like the easiest shove ever.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway,
I think it was eights, and you're like,
yeah. Oh,
I think it was
eight?
eights and 14 bigs, and you're like, what's the problem? I don't understand.
Yeah, I was like,
Did I
I was,
mishear? Was it not
I was
14?
like,
Was it 41? Did I like dyslexic this number?
I thought the internet connection cut out or something for a second. I've missed some pertinent information here. But anyway,
These could be exactly like that. We'll see here.
okay.
Okay. Okay. Blind levels are 500, 1,000. Under the gun, we're nine-handed. Under the gun shoves for 13K. So he shoves 13 big blinds. Under the gun one calls 13K. He has 40K behind. Now, under the gun one, he's an older gentleman. He'd been playing. I guess you could just classify him as kind of average. You know what though? That's too much because I almost readless. Basically, just an average player. He's probably 50, 55 years old. We'll leave it at
Gotcha.
that. Next guy had been calling a little loose. So when he calls 13K, I don't know if he's completely aware of his stack size, that he just put in a third of his stack. To him, he's got about 40K behind, and he just put in 13 of it to as an under the gun one call. Folds around to us. We're in the small blind. We have 50K behind, and we have eights. Big blind is a short stack with about, well, I guess it's not totally short. He has 20 bigs. Okay, so under the gun rips for 13 bigs. UTG1, loose player, calls 13 bigs with 40K in his starting stack. Folds around to us in the small blind. We have eights, and the big blind has about 20K. We got 50 bigs.
Wait a minute, I'm confused. It sounded like you started off saying he was like a 50-year-old, basically unknown, and now you're saying he's a loose player.
Oh, I'm saying the under the gun one that called his shove is a loose player.
So the original shover is the 50-year-old.
Yes.
Okay. I fold here.
Okay. All right.
It's probably if the older guy shoves and he doesn't get a call, it's probably a Nash call there, but this guy's probably not shoving the Nash ranges.
Yeah.
To this type of player, 13 bigs, like, you can last several more orbits with that.
Yeah.
So I don't think, like, for example, he's probably supposed to be shoving like ace five suited, ace nine suited hands like that. I don't even think he's shoving those.
Yeah.
And he could probably get away with shoving something like, say, queen 10 suited, jack 10 suited, and he's definitely not shoving those. So I think for the most part, he has a big ace or a pair that has you dominated, or at worst, he has like sevens or eights here, in my opinion.
Okay.
And then when you combine that with this other guy, I guess he's a little bit more capped, especially given that you said he's loose. So, I mean, that helps a little. But do you think if you shove, the guy folds, or you're not even considering that?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking if I shove, I might be able to get heads up with the original opener. But like you said,
Okay.
eights probably isn't doing
But
fantastic against just him.
it's not. But if you can get the other guy to fold, and now you have this dead money subsidizing it, you're okay. Because now you probably are like you probably are a 60-40 dog
Yeah.
a lot of the times, or maybe like 35-65. But
Okay.
that's okay if you put in a third of the money.
Yeah.
So if you're confident you can get this other guy out, I would shove, but I wouldn't call.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. I ended up folding. I thought, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just running through the Rolodex how many players I've seen just flat call with kings there or something in the loose guy's shoes. But I thought it was pretty damn close, and I chucked it. Original shover had king queen off, and then the UTG one, which I think his play here is horrific. He called with sixes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad. I also saw him do the same exact play later with pocket threes, and he was just so pissed when it didn't beat ace king. You know, it's just like, no. He looked like a soccer player where
Yeah.
when they missed the goal. You know, and it's just like somebody just shot their mom or something. It's like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? He looked like
I've
that.
seen it. Yeah, he's like flopping, like they did a soccer flop at the poker table.
Exactly.
Like,
Yes.
yeah, hilarious. Okay, king queen off. That is a good shove, and I don't expect players like the one you described to shove. I would expect them to limp a hand like that,
Yeah.
but I think my standard old guy stereotype is kind of getting screwed up because these guys used to be like super tight by default, but some of them are not.
They're loosening their game up. They're learning, you know?
Yeah,
Some of the
yeah.
lingo they throw out, they're like reverse implied odds, and I'm like, he actually used that correctly. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Poker's getting tougher. Okay.
Yeah. See, this is a good time for like all the Nash charts that we use, and even Snap Shove talks about one person shoving and you're deciding whether or not you have to call.
Yeah.
But I don't think we have any charts or an app that tells us what to do when somebody else calls before us.
Yeah.
But I feel like eights would be a Nash call, but if there was some Nash chart that can calculate when another person calls, I think we have to tighten up a bit. So being unsure, I like defaulting to a fold because
Okay.
it's better to make a bad fold than a bad call.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm on board with that play.
Okay. All right. One other one kind of similar.
Okay.
This time we're on the button. So UTG shoves. I do not remember who it is. I just did a voice note and I didn't say who the player was, so this is basically readless. UTG shoves for, you know what, instead of saying the stack sizes, I'm just going to say how many bigs everyone has.
Okay.
Okay, so UTG shoves for 7 bigs. It folds to us. We're on the button with ace-jack offsuit. We have 30 bigs. Small blind, let's see, we got 30 bigs. Small blind has 10 bigs. And big blind has about 27 bigs.
The one thing I want to add really quick to the last hand is that one was at the 500, 1,000 level.
Mm-hmm.
So if my memory serves me correctly, that wasn't like quite close to the bubble yet. And so if you wanted to like kind of go for a spot there, it would be fine. Whereas if you were closer to the bubble, you have to be tighter with your calls. So this particular hand, is this one like later in the tournament?
It is. This is the 1500 3K level.
Okay,
I'm
so
trying to think
like
of where that was as far as the bubble. I think I
super
don't think we've
close,
broken
I
the
think.
bubble yet.
Yeah.
We were at a full 2 tables or 17 got paid. We must have still had 3 tables, so we're probably in the mid 20s as far as how many players.
Right. So 17 pay and there's like 25 left
Yeah, I would say
Um,
22 to 25, something like that.
okay, yeah, I'm folding this.
Okay. All right.
It's definitely a Nash call. And I think once somebody gets to around 7 bigs, they're going to be more likely to be shoving closer to Nash than the 13, even in unknown. So if this was like earlier in the tournament, I would probably just shove over this.
Okay.
I mean, you could flat. I've seen good players say flat if the original shove is like big enough to like not encourage the big blind to just complete with anything.
Okay.
But yeah, this close to the bubble, you got to cut your calling ranges down like by a shit ton.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I folded. So that was that. I wasn't sure. This spot with ace queen, are you calling here? Or are you? Because the stack
I'm
sizes are kind of awkward to our left. You know what I mean? You got a guy with 10 bigs. If we call here and he shoves, I don't think we're hardly ever good with ace jack there against his range, unless he's doing it with like you're kind of hoping he has like tens there because he's never doing it
yeah.
with ace 10.
I don't even think about the people behind too often when my
Okay.
stack. Like if somebody shoves 7 and I call with off of 30, I guess there's some people I would fold to if they came over the top.
Okay.
But they would pretty much have to have me covered. And you said one guy only had 10,
One guy
and the
had
other
10. The big blind has 27. So
yeah. So
we've got him covered by three bigs, which is we basically have the same stack.
yeah. So with that case, I'm the effective stack,
Yeah.
and so I'm not so concerned about the people behind me. The only time I would even be thinking about them if I thought if they had me covered and I thought they would be capable of like squeezing light
Okay.
and forcing me to fold. But I'm more just thinking about the
Opening.
shover
Yeah.
and yeah, and like honestly, like now this is where if you ask me what hand I would call with here, I probably would. Given that we're on the bubble, I wouldn't call with anything. If I'm going to play, I'm shoving,
Okay.
and that range for me is going to be probably tighter than it should be, but I'm okay with that. I'm probably going to be looking at something like Jacks plus and Ace King maybe.
Okay. Okay. Because
Like
of the bubble.
yeah, because of the bubble, I'm probably just folding tens. I'm probably just folding Ace Queen.
Wow. Okay.
It's like it's not my job to knock out the short stacks. It's the other people's job to do that, and then I fold into the money, and then I start knocking out short stacks.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. I did just that. I don't think this one was quite as obvious as the
No,
eights before with 14 bigs.
yeah. These are definitely thought provoking, and they have a little bit of wiggle room for like
They could spur some
styles.
discussion. The other one was I was just insulting my own intelligence there. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Right on. Cool. Good deal. Well, thank you for coming on, Carlos. This was fun.
Yes.
Drive safe down to Mike's house.
Yes.
And I don't know when I'll see you next. Maybe the WSOP.
You know what? I am going to play Run It Up Reno in April.
Okay.
So if you decide to do that, you'll see me there. I'm going to play every tournament
Okay.
because they're small buy-ins, and the best part, every final table is streamed on Twitch with whole cards up.
Oh,
So
nice. What?
yeah,
When
so
is that in April? I'm leaving April 10th, I believe, and I don't get back until like middle of May.
I feel like I think it ends around April 10th. So it's like
Oh.
the first 2 weeks of April, I think.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
so
So I can stream it on
I'll
my
do,
iPad.
yeah. So if I'm not there, I mean, if I don't see you there, I'll see you in Vegas for sure.
Okay, perfect, brother. Right on. And if you guys want to get a hold of Carlos, you can go to headsuppoker.poker, click on the Circle of Trust, his Twitter, coaching page, all that is right there, so you can get a hold of him for coaching and follow him on Twitter. And you got anything else, Carlos? Right on. Alrighty, brother. Drive safe, and thank you for tuning in. Here is your weekly motivational speech.
Life spiraling out of control. Got to a point I said, you know what, I gotta grow up. I need to grow up because I'm on some little boy stuff. I should be making my mom proud. I should be making her smile. I should be giving her joy as opposed to giving her pain, giving her a hard time. When I was like, yo, whatever I gotta do on character, I ain't blaming nobody else. Listen to me, I took back my power. For years I was blaming folks, but if he was in my life, if this teacher wouldn't give me a hard time, they always on my back, it was his fault. I stopped blaming people. Because when you blame people, you give them your power. I took my power back. I took complete ownership. I said, nope, this is all on me. I made the mistake, I'll make the adjustments. It's all on me. I promise you, a shift started taking place, right? And so I end up, it's the craziest thing. I end up catching up with my right grade. I had to take summer school, I had to like night courses. So when all my other friends was kicking it, that was hard. I was like, yo, I want to go kick it, but let me make the main thing, because I'm tired of seeing my mama cry. Like, I'm tired of living here. Like, I want better, I want more for my life. So I recognize I gotta make some adjustments. I started making the adjustments. So I was just like, yo, everybody who talked negative about me, I'm about to show them they was wrong about me. And everybody who believed in me, I'm about to prove them right. And I'm about to have my mom crying for the rest of her life. She's so doggone proud of me. So did high school, boom. Did college. I said, shoot, if I can do college, maybe I can get my master's. I'm like, why not? Why not push the limit? Why not be a next level student? Why not try to get the absolute best out of me I can get? So I said, well, shoot, I'm going ahead, and I'm gonna do grad school. Went to grad school, got the master's. Now I'm like, shoot, if I had to get my master's, I had to write a whole bunch of books, papers, and read a whole bunch of books. I'm like, well, shoot, maybe I could write a book. But my first book in 2010, I've been writing a book every year. I just finished my 7th book called Next Level Teaching. I never thought I'd be traveling the country. I never thought I'd be traveling the world. So I want to challenge y'all real quick. Like, ask yourself right now, all eyes on me. Like, ask yourself, what kind of life you want to live?